joining here on the attendees list. So guys, just bear with us for a second as we welcome everybody to the room and get started. Typically we'll maybe give it a couple of minutes here for folks to log in. Obviously, it's in the evening, so feel free to help yourself with some kind of a beverage and get ready to kind of hang out for a bit. You're in for a treat. Okay, cool. All right, lots of folks logging in now. Just bear with us here for a couple of minutes. You guys feel free to use the chat box to ping us. I think we have a couple of folks just looking at that. I'm looking at that as well. So say hello. Awesome. We have some folks calling in from Sydney, some folks calling in from Brisbane. Thanks for joining us when it's a little bit late for you guys. Hopefully when the time zone changes back, it'll be a little bit better. But really appreciate it that you guys are here and supporting. Oh, lots of folks from Australia. And we have some folks calling in from Myanmar as well. Very cool.
Word's getting out. That's exciting.
That's great.
Oh.
It's always the hey, I have a familiar face. Hey, Cheryl, how's it going? Hope you're doing well. It's good to see you, and thanks for joining us here. It's always the awkward first couple of minutes as we're having everyone kind of join. Oh, fantastic! So let's welcome Cheryl to her first TUG. This is very cool. Very cool. I think for us, we can't wait until we have an opportunity to be able to see everybody again in person. I think we're kind of just counting down the days before we can meet again. Let's see. Okay. Perfect. So why don't we just give it just another 2 or 3 more minutes? 6:33. Maybe we do like a proper kickoff at 6:35 to get started. I have 2 screens, so you'll probably see me look over here, then look over here, as well as some of our other folks as well. So hope everybody's doing well and keeping well, working from home and all that good stuff.
In various stages of lockdown around the world.
Around the world, yeah. For those that missed the kind of Christmas TUG, we actually was able to get a bunch of folks on, and we all turned on our videos and played a fun little game, and that was quite fun. Maybe we'll do something like that again soon, or at the end of this year. We gave away a couple of prizes. We had folks find interesting things that maybe they had laying around the house as an ask, and if you came up and displayed yourself with the right thing that you happen to have, whether it be like a fancy hat or an interesting colored sock, you maybe won a prize, and that was good fun.
Hey Jay, that was a lot of fun. I had to just do that at work the next day. I had a team meeting. And I says, "Oh wow, how can I get my guys running around in there?" So that was great inspiration.
You won a lot of them too. You got a lot of interesting things laying around your place, Sean. Maybe just a shout out to some other folks too that are calling in or dialing in. We have Steve. Hey, how's it going? Calling in from London, man. Thank you so much for joining us.
I think you've got a bit of a radio voice there, Joe. You could be like Love Songs Till Midnight or something.
Singapore Tableau user group on the coast. KISS 103.9. I won't quit my day job until then.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Yeah.
I need a bigger following. Well, it looks like we're good on time, guys. So thanks for your patience there and waiting that extra 5 minutes for everybody to join. We have a great sized group. Why don't we get started? Thank you all for joining us, and we really appreciate being able to have time for us to sync and connect with you. So this is kind of our official kickoff for this year. With a pretty straightforward agenda. We'd love to just welcome you, say hello to you. As you guys may know from just our December announcements, we have a new TUG co-leader. We're going to intro to you, Mr. Burns. Excellent. I've been waiting to do that all day. We also have a guest from Tableau, so our colleagues from Tableau, Andy, who's going to present on 2020.4, and then we have a little bit of announcement where we are going to be kicking off some things related to Tableau and coffee, and then I think for the main event, which we're really excited to be able to bring to you guys, is that Steve Wexler is here to present. And so we'll go through that, and we're super excited to be sharing this TUG with you guys live.
Great, thanks, Gia. So we're going to kick off with Mr. Burns. So welcome, Mr. Burns. You are off mute now. That's good to hear. So Mr. Burns, or Sean, as we can also call him, is working at QB Insurance. He's the head of analytics for Asia there, and is now one of our newfound co-leaders here at the Singapore Tableau user group. So we're very excited to have you here. Welcome aboard, Sean. It's been nice working with you so far, Sean, aka Mr. Burns. Yes. Interesting facts is in Sean's other roles, he is also a scout leader here in Singapore. So I think that's really great. So thank you for that. And we just discovered that he is originally from approximately a 40-minute drive from Steve Wexler's place of residence. So interesting fact there. And Sean, do you want to just take a couple of minutes to introduce yourself, please?
Hey, thank you, Sarah and Jay and Celine, for welcoming me to be part of the leadership team here with the Singapore user group. I'm very happy there. And I think Jay really wants me to say excellent, in group there. So I always kind of wonder when I join, when I get invited in new teams in there and the team members here that their boss is Mr. Burns. I think they shake at their boots and stuff like that. But hopefully after they get a chance to meet me, they've realized not that worse. But I'm sure there's some days they really think I'm that Simpson character. I'm, again, my name is Sean Burns, and I'm originally from the United States. Connecticut is where I kind of was born and grew up. But I have lived in Asia, if I add my multiple tours of duty in Japan, India, and now the last almost 6 years or 5 years in Singapore, it's been a great international experience for me. And my career, I always kind of dread when I hear the number, but it's now kind of like going 20 plus years in working in the field of data analytics. And, that's someone who started off as an analyst doing the coding before tools like Tableau was available for us. So really, pulling out that data out there, being able to have the opportunity to teach it within there, leading teams, and then leading entire data and analytics organizations there. My career really started off in banking, and a good chunk of that, 16 years, was actually also at Citibank, and in a variety of their business and credit cards in the US, and then their mortgage, and then their Japan and Singapore businesses. And then the last 4 years, I've kind of moved over to QB Insurance. and showing them how to do that there as well. So I'm married, have two boys, 14-year-old now and a 6-year-old, sorry, 8-year-old. And like you heard, I like to find very fascinating places in Singapore where you can camp with my Boy Scout troop there as well. And so that's something that I did when I was young, and having two boys, that's something I really enjoyed doing with them as well. So if you ever been to Palawan Ubin, it's probably the most remote area in Singapore that you could get to. And you can really have ground fires and just kind of be very kind of caveman, really rustic experience.
Thanks, Sean. That was a great intro. I just kind of switching gears a little bit and talk about maybe some of the experience that you've got with Tableau, both like in your work environment and maybe a little bit about the community as well.
Okay, yeah, sure. So Tableau is relatively new to me, and I was really introduced to that when I joined over to at QBE. There was a long time when I was at Citi before Sarah was there, and she, did that. We didn't have those type of solutions. We were introduced to some other BI solutions, and every time I saw that, I was like, oh, that's so clunky, and never kind of felt as good as being able to write hard code myself, pull my own data, be able to manipulate it and do the type of insights there. So it just never had that initial appeal to me. And then there was this, I got invited to one of the Tableau day outs here in Singapore. And there was this grand epiphany moment for me. And watching one of the demos, I noticed this little edit button during one of the demos that says, oh, wait a minute, what does that do? And they were kind of showing me, and I was kind of seeing some stuff that I didn't see before. And I was like, wait a minute. And I pull up one of my dashboards and I tried, got onto it. And then I liked what I was kind of seeing there. And I started to contact my teammates and says, you got to show me a little bit more. And I got way excited about what they was able to do, what Tableau was able to do, where I could never have seen that with some of the other Tableau, with the other BI solutions there. That got me really excited and says, wait a minute, I get it now. And I could kind of see how this could really open a lot of doors. And that got me to the place where I decided, you know what, I'm going to actually learn some of this. And I started, taking some of the online trainings and just getting with our data there, and just got really hands-on. And that was just a powerful experience there, and really got me to want to advocate about it and learn more, getting connected with this community, some of the other, groups out there, and says, there's so much to learn about this tool here. And I just think it's just top of the line, and I think it could do a lot for us.
Yeah, that's really interesting, because I think that's key, right? Like when you've seen a lot of different BI tools, or you've come up through the years of experiencing with BI, you've really, the tool like Tableau, you've kind of at any level need to get hands-on to really understand its power. So I think it's great that that's something that you've done. And now I know like a buzzword of now is kind of around data literacy. So do you want to just take a couple of minutes to talk about what that means to you and how you've kind of dealt with data literacy within your organization?
Yeah, with the data literacy, that kind of really jumped at me after I left Citibank. Those first couple of days when I left Citi to join QB, it was eerie. When I was at Citi, everyone was always banging on my door. I need data. I can't make a decision with data. It was always kind of coming to me. And having been there for so long, I always thought that was the norm. And so when I joined this insurance company, and I remember my boss, when she kind of brought to me, she was also ex-Citi, and she says, Sean, it's different here. Okay, so you got to really lower those expectations of what you're kind of going to do. And so I was trying to understand what that meant. And when I got here, it was like eerily quiet. And at first I kind of liked it because I thought it was a nice little break, as you kind of transition to it, but it just got too quiet for me. in there. And what I was trying to understand, why is it so quiet? Why aren't people asking me for data? And what I was kind of picking up there is they didn't know what they didn't know. And you had to really kind of come out here as a bit of an advocate to kind of show them what it is. In essence, the organization was data illiterate. And that's where I was kind of saying, picking up on something here. It's just, look, there's something new here that we need to kind of explore, and how to make this organization to really change from this literacy to help them to know what they don't know. And what really helped in that journey was the Tableau, because of the simplicity of the tool, and because people were asking for some data, but they just, they were doing it in very different and weird ways. Like a lot of times they were using Tableau dashboards as a way to extract data. And so they go to a dashboard and they hit the download button and they download all the data and they put it in Excel to do something. It says, why are you doing that? I showed them a different way. It says, look, here, you don't like that dashboard? Fine. Let me show you how to make your own dashboard. And once I got someone in there and says, look, this is pivot tables on steroids, and they start to see that and they use it and says, oh, wait, and it refreshes my data automatically. And once they had those same aha moments, they were all getting excited. And it was sometimes it was almost one conversation at a time that you had to have within the organization to be able to show it. And once they did, it started to catch on. And now the core part of our strategic strategy is, with data analytics and promoting literacy there, because for us to really to adapt to become more digital as an insurance company, our business need to be, our people need to be very data literate, and they need to be very use that as a way to grow our business going forward.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Sean. That was a really great intro, and I enjoy working with you and look forward to working with you more. We do need to move over now, but if anyone's got any questions that we didn't cover that you'd like to, please hit us up in the Q&A and we'll be monitoring that. Now I'm going to pass you over to Celine.
Thanks, Sarah and Steve. Why did I call you Steve? Thanks, Sean. It was really nice to meet you, and welcome once again to the team. It's really great to have a brand new face on the team and inject new life into the Singapore Tableau user group. We're gonna go and take a little look into Tableau 2020.4. I know it's been a while since these updates were out, and we're quickly going to see 2021.1 soon. So I'm gonna get Andy. He is a senior solution engineer here at Tableau. He's gonna do a fantastic job to introduce some of these 2020.4 updates for us. So Andy, take it away.
Thank you, Celine. Let me know if you can see my screen.
All good, in case you didn't see us.
Okay, so thank you everyone for joining us this talk. So basically what I want to share with you, so what's new in 2020.4? As you can see, Tableau basically always improves on that particular software, and you can see there are lots of highlights in terms of features that we have improved in 2020.4. In actual fact, some of them are what you have requested for. So we do listen and we do acknowledge there are certain things that we could add into our functionalities as well. So as you can see, some key highlights, maybe just want to show you in terms of data preparation. Those people who have used our Tableau Prep Builder right now for 2020.4, the version or the browser-based version is actually supported. The next one is actually for augmented analytics, which is our Ask data itself. So there's certain improvement in terms of visualization, but also in terms of range of dates, especially when you ask questions, and this actually gets translated into a range that can be actually visualized right now. However, for today, we want to focus on two key features update. The first one is actually about geospatialization. So I'm not sure how many of you guys use geospatial, but this is actually one of the key strengths of Tableau. And we heard that a lot of people have been asking about the multiple marks layer support for maps. And finally, in 2020.4, we have this. So with this feature, you can now enhance your geospatial analysis, with multiple mark layers, support for unlimited mark layers as well from a single source of data on your map visualization, and also bring in multiple visualization together for better understanding and analysis as well. Also, we understand some of you actually sit in an air-gapped environment with no internet access, especially for government customers, or maybe sometimes in the bank as well. So as such, Tableau actually provides offline map support in this version to allow users to access and analyze spatial data on the Tableau data server. The next key feature that I wanted to showcase this time around is also surrounding the predictive analytic capability. Well, in addition to the existing predictive modeling functions that we have actually added two new ones, which is the regularized linear regression as well as the Gaussian process regression as well. So basically what you could do now is to swap these models within the calculation itself, which I can show you later, and also get immediate visual effects on how that change impacts the prediction when compared to historical data. But one key feature as part of the predictive analytics as well is the date axis extension. And that's something that is going to enhance your productivity, especially when you are using time-based prediction Tableau. So basically what we have is a pre-populated set of extension options, or even you can use some customized menus to select your own date range. So this feature is very suitable, especially when you're using predictive modeling functions, table calculations like running average, or even external services like R or Python. So with that, I'd like to showcase this demo right now. Okay, so I guess everyone is familiar with this look, right? And basically this is none other than Tableau, but this is the 20.4 version. So first up, what I want to show you is the geospatial enhancement in terms of the multiple layers. And the data set that I have here is a banking data that has every row consists of a customer. I have the customer segment, I have the customer postal code of where he or she stays, the branch that is being tagged to, the branch postal code, as well as the town area that this customer lives in. So as you can see here, these are data set that contains actually 3 geographical rows. And what we want to do here is actually build that multiple layer on a geospatial visualization. So if those familiar with 2020.3, to do that, what you actually need to do is to create a to-one axis. So I give you an example in this case here. Let's say, for example, I'm looking at town area. So when I double click, just change this up to a map. This is the town area that based on data set of Singapore itself. So what that I can do is to bring in maybe the customer density of the particular town area. So the bluer it is, obviously the higher the intensity of your customers located in that particular town. And if I were to, let's say, overlay my branches on top of this particular map, what then I need to do is to actually create another column here, right? And then I will have to change this instead of town area to a branch code per se. So I have a branch postal code, I'll change this up. And then maybe I do a little bit of customization, like changing the shape. Right, and I increase the size. So you can see here on the right, I will have all my branches that is located in Singapore based off my postal code. And on the left, basically, I have my customer density based off the town itself. So then what do I need to do if I want to overlay this? Obviously, I'm quite sure a lot of you guys know is to use a dual axis, and this gets overlaid. So prior to 2020.4, if you were to or rather, if you were to try to add, let's say, for example, customer postal code onto the map, it's going to be difficult or basically near impossible. And that's something that we have improved in 2020.4 because we're able to do that now very easily. And in fact, you do not need to actually create the dual axis column anymore, or rather the additional column. So starting on a fresh page, and we're trying to rebuild everything together. So here, I can just drag in the town area, right? I'll change this up into a map. I bring the customer density. So this is something that you're familiar with, right? So what happens just now is I have my branch postal code. When I drag over the visualization canvas, you can see it says add a marks layer. And that's something that we have improved in this version, and that's something that you could, very quickly add that particular geographical role on top of this map itself. So as you can see here, the branch postal code is the small little gray dots. What we can do again is to change this up into a nice shape. Let's say, let's go back with the bank, right? I could again adjust it. So this is what originally we have just now. But then I would like to look at the customer density by postal code on top of this layer as well. And that's possible because I have the customer postal code. What then I could do again, similarly, I could track this and add it on the marks layer. So right now you can see these dots represent a single postal code of where your customers are located. But having said that, let's change it up because I really, really like this density visualization, right? And of course, I could change up the color as well to make it more prominent. I really like this sunrise, sunset diverging. So you can see your concentration of your customer base of the postal code is actually in the central of Singapore. So I know it may be overwhelming because there's many layers, or obviously if you were to add many, many more layers, it could be quite cumbersome. But then what Tableau allows you to do is you're able to peel off this layer or turn it off. So for example, like in this case, I could turn off the town area, or I could maybe turn off the branch code, or even the customer density itself. And having said that, the good part about it as well, I could, play around something like, your PowerPoint slide where you could bring certain objects backward or bring it forward as well. So the kind of flexibility we have in 2020.4 is really amazing to help you with your visualization. Okay. So I hope you guys will go try it out and download the new version and have a go at it for your visualization itself. So with that, let's move on to the date extension. So for data extension, I'm going to use a relatively familiar data set, and I'm sure you guys know about this data set. It's none other than our Superstore. So like we mentioned, for this data extension is really applicable for your predictive modeling, or let's say, for example, your calculated fields, or even certain extension like R and Python itself. Basically, in short, is mainly time series sort of data. So in this case here, we have our profit, right, that we are familiar with, and we obviously bring in the order date. I'm just going to change this up into a continuous month to look at the trend of the profit across a period of time, right? So there are a few things that we have in terms of the predictive side of things. So in this case here, what I've already done is a quantile predict median profit. Essentially what it means is that it is actually predicting the profit in terms of the median based off the order date itself. So once I double click that in, right, as you can see, it shows me another chart at the bottom. I could quickly change this up into a dollar axis. Okay, I overlay this, and maybe I just want to synchronize the axis. So essentially what it shows me is the blue line is the actual profit that I'm looking at. And I've also included the predicted so-called data, or rather the trend that I'm looking at. But let's say, for example, in these days, if I were to actually look at, let's say, maybe the next 1 month, the next 3 months, 6 months, or even a year, to do it in 20.3, in actual fact, you have to create another calculated field, and it may be quite cumbersome, and it will require some LODs as well. But today, we want to make things simpler, and obviously we always continuously improve. From the month itself, when you actually click it, you can see what we call it as the extend date range. And that's something that we could, forecast, or, bring the data into the next 1 month, or in this case here, the next 6 months itself, right? And the good part about it is that obviously if there is a particular custom range that you want to look at, there's also a custom date range that you could set. So in terms of the unit of time, right, if your data includes or the interval has this in terms of like hours, days, week, or month, that's something that you could, you know, play around with. Yeah, and you could do that prediction as well. So this is basically what we have for the extended date range. But having said that, remember we do talk about the additional predictive models capabilities for this version. As you can see here, I've created two. One is the Gaussian process, and the other one is the regularized linear regression. So it's just simple using the model quantile formula again, but all I just need to do is to just add in this statement here that says model equals GP, or is it model equals RL. And also in this version, right now, we are able to allow you to do that commenting, which can be rather useful, especially, you know, when you need to pass your workbook to one of your fellow colleagues to have a look at the calculated field as well. All right. So with that, before I end, I just wanted to point you guys back to our website, because this is actually where we have all the resources in terms of the new features, how you're going to do it, certain examples as well. So if you go to the web page under products, go to the latest release, you'll be able to see all the new features of the 2020.4, right? And right at the bottom, so we spoke about the multiple marks layer support, right? So this is something that I'm really excited for as well. And of course, if you scroll down, there is a video that talks about some of the features and also show you a short demo. And of course, at the bottom here, these are all the new features that is available in 2020.4. So with that, I'll pass back to Celine.
Thanks a lot, Andy. Nothing beats seeing a live demo, and with your examples, I think you really displayed the powers of these fantastic new features. And yeah, these two are really like my favorite. And thank you once again so much. I think there are a couple of questions in the Q&A, and you will take them. I think you answer them directly in the Q&A box. And with that, I'll hand it over to Tia, who will introduce wonderful Steve. So Tia, take it away.
Awesome. Thank you for that. Andy as well. Thank you for doing the demo. That was very, very cool. Guys, I'm really happy to be taking some time today to introduce Steve Wexler. Steve is the founder of Data Revelations. He's the co-author of the Big Book of Dashboards and also the author of an up-and-coming book called The Big Picture: How to Use Data Visualization to Make Better Decisions Faster. Steve has worked with McKinsey, Deloitte, the likes of J&J and ExxonMobil and Cornell, and many more organizations around the world to help them understand and visualize their data. He's a 5-time Tableau Zen Master. He's an Iron Viz champion, and he's also on the advisory board to the Data Visualization Society. So Steve's here with us today to share with us some of his favorite tips and tricks in Tableau, and also tell us a little bit about what he's been up to lately. Please join me in welcoming him to Singapore digitally. All right. Steve, I hand it over to you.
Thank you. Give me 1 second to take that over and share my screen. Thanks for having me here today. And Andy, what a great demo. I miss these things being live because there's so much energy and excitement when you show these great new features. It's one of the things that cracked me up about seeing the difference between the Tableau conference in the United States and in Europe. In Europe, a new feature would be shown and there'd be, you know, polite, nice applause. In the US, people just went nuts. You could just kind of go, look, I'm holding a mouse. Whoa, he's holding a mouse. This is amazing. But those were some amazing new features. In any case, I'm excited to share some favorite tips, tricks, and techniques. I am the founder and sole employee of Data Revelations. I was Tableau's inaugural Iron Viz champion. That was a really long time ago. I'm now a Tableau Zen Master Hall of Fame member. It says Tableau Zen Master on my card. If you're in the Tableau community, you know that's a real thing and it's a high honor. If you're not in the Tableau community and I hand you a business card and it says Tableau Zen Master, you probably think, why, this guy's a total tool. Who puts Zen Master on his own card? I'm certainly proud of those achievements, but within data within data visualization, the thing I'm most proud of is being one of the 3 authors of the Big Book of Dashboards. And you spoke about data literacy. That's really my passion now, and about trying to get organizations to realize how important you as data visualization practitioners are and how transformative you can be to the organization. So hard at work, a new book called The Big Picture will be coming out at least in the United States in May, and probably about a month later in other parts of the world. So here's the agenda. I'm going to show you some things. I hate seeing these agendas where you have these bullet points and people are actually trying to read these things, but I'm going to show you a bunch of stuff that I found extremely useful. Some of them are easy, some of them are maybe slightly Byzantine, but these are some of my favorite things to have in my arsenal. But I do want to start with a little warm-up. It kind of falls under the category of why do we see so many bar charts? Why are bar charts so popular? And if you would indulge me, if you could go to bigpic.me/estimate and give this thing a shot. Let's see how you do. Try to judge the size of the circles, try to judge the size of the bars, and let's see how you do with this. If I really had my act together, there'd be the Jeopardy think music in the background. And I'll give you another 20 seconds or so. Hopefully things are cooperating and you're able to access the Google poll. And don't spend too long on this. You know, part of this is what can people glean pretty quickly. All right, well, let's see how people did with this. Hold on a sec. So sorry if I didn't give you quite enough time, but as of yesterday, just under 3,500 people have responded to this. And you can see, you know, what's really salient here is that the guesses for the bar are all over the place. Only 40% of people got it right. And in fact, most people got it wrong if you add up the overestimating on the circle. People are terrible at judging the size of circles. But look at trying to guess C. Almost twice as many people got this right. Well, let's see. And the guesses are only a handful of people, a little too few, handful of people guessing a little too much. And let's see how this group did. Let me refresh this. We're at 3,478 responses. Let's see how many more we got. Ooh, that's nice. And let me just look at the last 3 days. And thank you. You are proving my point. You're all over the place with the guessing the size of the circles, but you're kind of spot on in nailing the bars. So bravo. And you know, we can see that most people had a lot more trouble with the circles. Doesn't mean circles are bad. They're just bad for if you want to get accurate comparisons. All right, let's dig into some stuff. I'm going to start with super easy pill swapping, and that I'm sure you've all discovered this thing here, where, oh, instead of this being on rows and this on columns, I want that on rows and this on columns, and you can hit that and it will change the orientation. I hate that that happens, by the way, every time you do this. But oh, it turns out what I really want to be looking at is I want to be looking at profit on columns, and sales can be part of the tooltip. Why do I want it? So that when people hover over this, so you can select any two pills, right click, and you can swap them. And in fact, it can really be any two pills. I can decide, what, I'm going to swap subcategory and profit over here, and choose this pill and this pill, right click and swap. So you're not just stuck with these items that are up over here. So any two pills swap, that's been in the product for forever, and a whole bunch of people don't know about it. Here's another thing, which is, I call it fun with discrete measures. So let's do the subcategory here, and let's put sales over here. Oops. Let me swap those two things. Let me sort this in descending order. And you decide, what, I want to see the mark labels here of sales. And then you look at this and go, well, I also want to get the percent of total over here. How can I get the percent of total? So I already have this calculation here. It's just a table calculation. I hate that term, table calculation. Really, a table calculation is you're asking Tableau to do math in its head. It has nothing to do with the idea of a text table or a crosstab. But gee, I'd like that to be on the label as well. And then you get this kind of, gosh, that's kind of messy looking stuff. And if I end up not having as tall a chart, something like this, I can only see some of them. And so you click on label and you go in here and say, oh, it's on two different rows. I've got the actual sales and the percentage of sales. And let me, maybe I'll try something like this. And this is kind of a big fat mess. It's cluttered. I hate that people want to have numbers on every single bar. You really don't need it, but sometimes people say, no, I want to see every number. Well, how can we clean this up, make it a nice chart, not have this mess over here? Well, let me undo that to start with. And in fact, let me get rid of this completely. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take sum of sales. By the way, I'm going to hold down the control key. And sorry, I'm a Windows user. I can't remember what it is on the Mac. I'm going to put sum of sales on rows. I'm going to get something that looks really stupid because it's seeing two continuous things. It's seeing a green pill, which means continuous. And it says, oh, I want to draw an axis that goes from low to high. Well, just because this thing by default is continuous doesn't mean it has to stay that way. I can right click this and say, oh, I'm going to make it discrete. Ooh, that's looking pretty nice. And then I can also take the percent of sales, put it up here, right click it, and make it discrete. So you've now got your nice clean bars over here, but you've got the sales and the percentages. And in fact, you probably don't even need the header down here, because I've already got the numbers that are here, etc. By the way, I hate this naming convention that's here. Header. Wait a minute. The thing along the bottom of the chart is the header. What do you call the thing at the top of the chart? Yeah, well, that's the header. How about these things over on the left side? Oh, they're the header. Anything that surrounds a chart is a header. So, I don't need the header that's here. All right, I'm looking at this because I added these discrete things here. Tableau has put some more lines in and things like that. I'm not even convinced I even need these grid lines that are going up. So maybe I'll start applying some of my favorite formatting to this. So let me right click this. I'll go to format and let's go here and decide, you know what? I don't want to have any row dividers at all. This is another source of confusion. Borders versus, lines and rules. So in borders, I certainly don't need any column divider. That's taking care of that item that's there. Let me now go into little rules here. Columns, I don't need grid lines. And I kind of picked this up from Jeff Schaefer. He likes having a nice axis ruler, a part of what makes it easy for you to compare the length of bars and for me to see that this is roughly twice as big as this is that you've got this common baseline. And I'd like to accentuate that a little bit. So I'll go put a row axis ruler and kind of, make it a little thicker, something like that. Oh. And that's just my formatting taste that I like. And, maybe I'll just make the bars all gray. And hey, I like this formatting. The axis ruler thing here, this no borders, no rules, etc. Kind of picked this up from Jeff Schaefer, fellow author on the Big Book of Dashboards. I kind of like that. Well, I just spent maybe, minute or so getting the format of this to be just so. Oh, gosh, look at this messy, horrible looking thing here. I want this sheet to kind of have the look and feel of this sheet. Do I really want to go through that again? And it turns out you can right click this tab and you can say copy formatting. Then you can right click this tab and say paste formatting. There we go. That's also been in the product forever. And tons of people don't know that it's just kind of sitting there and it's going, oh, that thing that you did over there, you can leverage that pretty easily. So a couple of nice, easy ones that are there for you. By the way, this putting these measures in the header, meaning in the part that's not in the pane in the chart itself, that's been a real godsend. Some of these things, this is where you can have little KPI indicators like little red dots or green dots, whatever is your predilection there as well, can be really useful. All right, want to show you how to create a gap chart. Let me show you what I'm talking about here. It's called a bar chart, a dumbbell chart, a gap chart. It's technically a connected dot plot. And let me show you where it came about. Let me go to a different data set here where I've got salary data for a whole bunch of the industry or different employees. And I've got people's ages and I've got their gender. So I'm going to start by I've binned the ages here and I want to know what the average salary is. So I'll drag this in. By the way, average for salary is a terrible measure because, you have a handful of people that are really low or, one or two people that are making millions while everybody's making, tens of thousands, and it skews everything. But indulge me and we'll go with average for now. And, I'd like to see what's the difference between men and women with this. Is there the gender gap, or are men paid more? And sadly, they are for exactly the same amount of time and quality of work, and we need to do better with that. So I'll put gender over here, and I gotta say, Tableau is just not great at doing paired or clustered bar charts. oh, gee, maybe, I'll make the color stand out a little bit, but you can get it, but how do you get the gap between the, within here to be tighter? And there are ways to do it, but it turns out there's probably a better way to show this chart completely. And there is, I'm not a fan of the clustered or paired bar chart, even if I could do it really easily without having to go through hoops. I think there's just better ways to present these things. You could do a bar in bar chart, but then one of the bars is going to be really wide, and in this case, you probably don't want to be giving heft to that. So instead, I'm going to do this. No, I don't want to stack. I'm going to go to, by the way, if you have a bar chart by default, you go to analysis, stack marks, it's going to be turned on. But if I go to the circle chart, it's not going to do that. So let me change the size of this, make this a little narrower. And how can I try to accentuate the difference between men and women? Well, I'm going to duplicate this. So, I'm duplicating it by holding down the control key and dragging it to the right. This chart, this second one, I'm going to make this into a line chart, but I want to connect it not by its guess, but I want to draw the line between males and females. I don't need to put color on here. And then let me make this a dual axes chart. By the way, don't there are so many how-to articles on how to do this, so don't worry about following the exact steps if you've not seen how to do this before. You can just look up, how do I create a barbell chart, dumbbell plot, gap chart, connected dot plot in Tableau. Let me synchronize the axes, right-click, synchronize the axes. Let me move the marks to the back. And for the line chart, let me make the size of this a bit larger. Hold on. And yeah, that looks kind of nice there. And let me make the color of this a much lighter gray for it. There we go. And so now I'm kind of accentuating where the gaps are. Oh, the smallest gap is 20-year-olds, and the largest gap is probably 40, or between 40 and 50, or 50 and 60. By the way, let me see if this will work. Let me go to analysis, table layout, advanced, and let's see, if you want to have the bin numbers at the top, I think this will work. There we go. Which is, this is Tableau's junk drawer, the analysis menu. If it's like, oh, where's this stuff? And, I went into table layout advanced, and, here's a case where because it is discrete, I'm able to say with this item, gee, I'd really like these things up at the top, not at the bottom. All right, you know what? Let me get rid of this header, this additional axes that I don't need. I'll make this chart a little wider. And, for whatever it is, people just love to see every single label marked. So let me go to the circles, not all, but just to the circles. And you know what? I'll put the average salary on label. And they go, well, that's kind of messy. That's kind of cluttered. I don't really like the way that looks. So I'll click label. And instead of the alignment being automatic, I'll make it left aligned and centered. Hey, wow, that looks really good. Oh, except these over here. Now, I like all of these being left aligned, but this one, it's kind of messed up over here. And you can just go nuts trying to go, I want the numbers on the right over here, but here I want the numbers on the left. You can just take this label and move it. I'm hoping there's at least one or two heads exploding right now going, what? You can do that? By the way, I used Tableau for 10 years and didn't know that. I started using Tableau in 2006, version 2.0. And then was 2016, somebody showed me that, and I just went, when could you do that? So there's your gap chart, there's your moving labels. And I do want to discuss a variation on the gap chart that I wish we had exposed in the big book of dashboards, because it's become one of my favorite ways to show how something has changed over time. So let me walk you through this a little bit, and G, you can look under the hood with me. I'm going to stay and not go into presentation mode. By the way, you know, I really like this kind of on this chart on the right. Do you notice this little rule that's there? Let me show you how you get that, because it looks cool. It's better when we hold on. So it's really effective when you change the orientation and you have this kind of row-wise rather than column-wise, but some little dotted line to help you do this. And if you just put max of 0 in here, and by default, Tableau wants to draw this 0 line that's in here. So yeah, kind of got a mess here, but let me get rid of, right click on that, get rid of the header, right click on this, go to the formatting, get rid of row dividers. And I guess for this, I just need to make the size of the dots a little bit larger. If you look at Pew Research and some, it's like, how do they do that? That looks so good with the little line that's there. This is just a 0 line. By putting max 0 here, Tableau wants to display a 0 line. And I find that aesthetically pleasing. You certainly don't have to go through the extra effort for this, but I did want to show you that. In any case, so I went, wow, I really like that little line they have there. I'd like to be able to emulate that. This is, and oh, I'll go into presentation mode so you don't have to squint your eyes. This was a dashboard that's in the big book of dashboards. It's trying to show the current period compared with the previous period. And where are we ahead, where are we behind? And the big bar is now, and the vertical line is the previous period. This is the first dashboard that made it into the big book of dashboards. And I look at this now and go, I probably wouldn't do it this way now. There's nothing wrong with it. A bar with a vertical line absolutely plays into what humans do well in terms of being able to make accurate, easy, quick comparisons. So, you know, we discussed in the book different ways of doing this. You know, maybe you could do this as a slope graph showing it started here, ended here. I didn't think that worked that well. And then I was showing this in a workshop, in my dashboard design workshop to attendees. And I said, you know what, if I were building this thing now, I think I would do it this way. You know, the current period is blue, the previous period is gray. And folks said, you know what, no, they preferred this. They said, it's really easy to see. Bars are now, vertical line is the previous period. And they said here, they're kind of going, wait, the blue is now. So I listened to what they were telling me. And they said, yeah, we're having trouble with the color saying, where did I start? Where did I end? Where's the current period? Where's the previous period? And I went home that night and went, are there other ways to show that? And there is. And it's so cool and it's so friggin' easy. Make a comment chart. You know, maybe label the first part of the comment. Here's the previous. You started here, you ended up here. So the tail of the comment is the previous period. The head of the comment is the current period. And maybe you'll color code it. Did it increase or did it decrease? Although it's pretty easy to see the increase and decrease. Let me show you how you do this. As you practically get this for free with Tableau, you don't even have to do dual axes or anything like that. So let's go to Superstore data, and I'm going to be showing profit. And I just want to look at 2 years. Hold on a sec. Let me put order date up here. And I'm going to put order date. Well, let me just make this a circle chart for now and put order date on detail. So it's creating 2 different, and if I were to turn the labels on, we'd see, oops, sorry. No, 2016 versus 2017. Wow, what a mess. You know, maybe I'll color code it or something like that. Let's not do any of that. Let's instead make this a line chart, but let's connect it by year. So what I'm doing is, you know, if I look over here, it's 2016, over here it's 2017. But if I also put this on size, this is just an interesting thing that Tableau made some design decision, and you know, let's sort this from highest to lowest. And that if you put, Tableau decided, gee, with lines, we're just going to put curved ends on them. So if you change the size of these things, you get this lovely curve on this thing, and you have this really nice looking comment chart, which is, it's very easy to understand. You know, look, you can certainly exaggerate the sizes if you want to. There you go, making the previous. And if people don't know, well, what does this thing mean? Well, you could do this. I could put year on label. I don't want to see everything labeled, and I'll just right click this and say mark label, always show this label. Mark label, always show this label. And you've just told people how to decode the chart, okay? Here's 2016, here's 2017. Well, suppose you want to color code it and things like that. All right, this is where I cheat. It's, oh crap, you know, I figured out how to do that a while back. It's really early in the morning over here. I can't remember what the formula is. Let me just go to where I know I have it. So this is my website, Data Revelations, and there's tons and tons of free stuff here, including a discussion of the comment chart. So I'll type in comment, showing now versus then, consider a comment chart, kind of walking through the whole thing that I just walked through with you. Thing. Oh, look, there it is. Here's how I can color the components. And also if you, and if I choose this, by the way, hold on. So let's create a new formula. Okay, I'll put the color gradient on color. Of course, it's getting it wrong because it's a table calculation and has to compute using by order date. And dang, if we don't have the blues are showing where it's increasing and the oranges is where it's decreasing. But it is a gradient. Suppose you just want it to be solid colors. Oh, all right, let's go back. Let's see. I know I've got it here someplace. Wait a minute, did I not actually include that? Here it is. Let me download it. open the thing up. And no gradient. And how is this being done? And then you can reverse engineer this. By the way, it was Ken Flairledge who came up with this really diff product no gradient. I didn't come up with it, but he came up with a really nice formula for doing this, which looks at the maximum for the entire thing, for the window for the 2 years, and then subtracts whatever is the previous year, so 2016, and sine returns either a -1 or a +1. And then we color code it by sine. So if you decide, gee, I don't want the gradient, I just want it to be solid colors, this is a cool extensible way to do this. It's also an indication of just how incredibly talented and generous the Tableau community is. That oh yeah, here's this great way to do it. Thank you for helping me, and let me pay it forward by just making this downloadable and allowing other people to do the same thing. Other nice thing about the Comet chart is we can throw in a reference line there to be our goal. Here was last year, here's this year, and here's where our goal is. So great technique. All right, another one that I wish we had done more with, which is the marginal histogram. So here's a scatter plot and showing age and salary distribution. And you can probably see, okay, people in their 20s don't make a lot of money. There's some outliers, and people in their 50s kind of, the salaries are in general are all going up. And then as you get older, your salaries go down, which it in fact is the case and is kind of depressing. But suppose you wanted to know, well, what's the distribution of ages in our organization or salaries in our organization? Well, you can build this marginal histogram. A histogram is a type of, I'm going to get beat up for this, calling it a bar chart, where the bins, where you're not doing categorical data, like a bar for tables, a bar for office machines. It's you have binned a continuous range of numbers, and they are equal bins. And so the idea is there aren't supposed to be any gaps. It's supposed to be showing a continuity, and that's why the bars are touching. But in any case, look at this. This is amazing. I can see, oh, I have almost twice as many 40 to 50-year-olds that I have as 20 to 30-year-olds. So what a great additional thing to put around a scatter plot. Well, it turns out it works really well. I've actually got this built in here. Hold on, let me go to. So here's our scatter plot with a marginal histogram. Here is technical support calls by hour and day of week. It works really well with highlight tables as well. You can probably see that there's a nice cluster of activity, where the darker cells are. And much less activity here. So I can see, yeah, if I were to ask you, what is the hour and the day where there's the most activity, you probably find it pretty quickly because you're looking for the dark orange. But suppose I were to ask you, overall, what day of the week gets the most calls and what gets the fewest? And what hour of the day gets the most and what the fewest? You'd go, oh, well, that's kind of hard to tell from this. But if we put this marginal histogram, marginal meaning it's in the margins, and I like putting them along the bottom and along the right side, just because you still have your headings that are there. Oh, it's instantly, I can see 12 p.m. instantly I can see Wednesday as the biggest day. So really useful. So this is an example that's in the big book of dashboards, road fatalities in the United States by month and by year. And if we were doing it now, I'd love to see a marginal histogram placed in there. So here's color coding by sales. So it's pretty easy to see, where there's a lot of sales, where there are few sales. But if I were to say overall, which categories are the highest and which are the lowest, well, this is pretty difficult. But if I put this marginal histogram over here, becomes, oh, that's not so difficult. So let's see how we're going to do this, how we can put this in. So this is, highlight table. All I've done is I've just color coding by sales. And I'm using a nice continuous palette because there's not a logical midpoint. The divergent palette is, gee, what's above average, what's below average, what's above our goal, what's below our goal. If it's just, low numbers to high numbers, you probably want to use a continuous palette like this one. Or see, it's called the sequential versus diverging palette. So let me duplicate this. And let's try to just put the totals in here. So first of all, I'm not going to have the region up here. And I'm going to make this a bar chart. Put sales up here. Make this a lot narrower. Maybe I'll put the label inside like that. Yeah, it's good enough. I'm not even sure I need to color code this at all. Maybe make it it doesn't hurt, but you've got the length from a common baseline. People are way better at being able to judge magnitude with that than they are with color. So maybe I'll make this color code this very light, and I'll put a nice border around it, something like that. And so what I've got to do is somehow pair this with this. So let's create a new dashboard. Kind of get, size is good enough. And let's see, sales highlight table. Let's do this. Let's put a horizontal container in here. By the way, there's going to be some manual futzing of this, because if we want to have both something that lines up vertically to the things that are on the right side, and we want to line stuff up along the bottom, meaning the marginal histogram for also the columns, not just the rows, you're probably going to have to do some manual stuff. But let me throw this in here. Don't need the color legend. And let me throw, thought I put a container in here. Hold on a sec. We throw horizontal container, put this in here, don't need this. Let me put this next to it, good enough. Make this wider. Let me get rid of the entire view. Let me get rid of the header that's over here. Let me get rid of the header that's over here, and entire view. And you can see, oh, this is where we've got, the fun and delights of, oh, maybe I should have put this thing. I should have put this item in its own container, would put a blank or something like that. But what we're in fact looking to get is, let me see if I can find it for you. Here we go. And, you know, getting the alignment just so, and taking care of maybe reducing the padding and things like that. But I think it's absolutely worth the effort, and it's not terribly difficult. And whole discussion of it, how to do it, how to build it, where you can download it, where you see the how the items all get stitched together. By the way, technically, this is not a histogram because these are not equally sized binned numbers. So you want to get into a bar fight about that or whatever, you've got your ammunition on it. There was one more technique that I was going to show you. I'm going to point you to where it is, as I think it is insanely useful. Hold on a sec. And that is where the power of disaggregated data and ways to show that. So here is a little bar chart comparing the average salaries of people by generation and showing your salary compared to your peers, the average of your peers. And are you pissed off because you're Generation X and you're making $82,000, but the average is 112,000 roughly? Or can you go, well, I'm a little miffed, but I'm not really pissed off? Let me show you exactly the same data, and you're probably going to become pissed off, which is, oh, wait a second, what's going on there? Wait, my dot was really high up over here. What's happening over here? Well, here we're showing the upper quartile, the median, the lower quartile. We are disaggregating the data. And that's you. Well, what is this thing, and how do you get it? And how do you get all the dots, and how do you get them to spread out? I'm really quickly going to show that part, and then I'll show you where you can find the how-to stuff, because I want to leave time for Q&A on this. But so by the way, what we're planning to make is something like this, and where people can type in their IDs. But what's happening is, what you're essentially doing is coming up with a way that instead of showing all the dots, every response in a strip, you are spreading them out, you're jittering them. And how do you do something like this? Oh, let's just create a new worksheet and go to this survey data, and let's see, good. I've only got the data that I want. And what I want to do is maybe see this by gender, and I'll say, gee, what is the salary? Overall, men versus women. Well, what I'm going to do is I want every single response to be shown, not the aggregation, not the average of everybody. So this is from some survey data, and each survey respondent has an ID. If I put that on detail, and if I change these to circles, there's in fact a whole mess of circles over here. Well, how do I see what the distribution is? And this is where you can do, well, you can put a box plot on this thing. Let me change the size of the circles. This will show where the median is, the high, low. I hate box plots because my audience doesn't understand what they are. Also, it's just hard to see how many dots there are, where are they clustering, etc. So let me remove that box plot. But how can I get the dots to kind of move to the left and the right and see how many there are with them. There are a bunch of different techniques for doing this. I'm going to, just because we're short on time, I'm going to do one right now, which is, this is not my preferred method of doing this. Because, and I have how-to articles on the best ways to do this, but there's a random function which is not documented, and sorry about that. And that is a possible way that we can jitter these dots. People get confused by it because they're thinking, is there a difference between a dot that's on the left and a dot that's on the right? Which is why I may start it in a strip and then animate it extending out. Hold on one sec on this, which is because this is worth learning how to do, and it's worth learning to see the alternatives to it. But again, you can just, this is my cheap place, is I'll just go to my own website and look up discussions about jittering and possible alternatives to a jitter plot. But especially with salary data and things like that, having disaggregated data and coming up with cool ways to show it can be really potent. Let me see what I've got here. And if I've got the particular example of the two ways of showing it. Yeah. So here's your salary versus everybody else, and showing quartiles, so lower quartile, median, upper quartile. And here's where you are. And this is the same way, but instead of doing the jittering, it's something called a Wilkinson dot plot or a unit histogram. So I can see the distributions. But this is a very powerful way of getting people to engage with dashboards, to say, here's you, and here's everything else, and here's everybody else. Sorry, ran out of time to actually walk through this, but the instructions on it, much more important that you say, that looks like that could be a pretty useful technique. And I'll just go to the guy's website and type jitter. Couple more items to discuss, which is I will, if you know, travel and meeting in person were something that we could do right now, I would be coming to Singapore, but instead I will be doing a virtual workshop that is APAC friendly. I've been getting a lot of requests to, I want to attend your workshop, but the hours are just terrible. Well, first of all, workshops, recordings, resources, everything I showed you, all these workbooks, they're available at Data Revelations. And April 20th and 22nd, I will be doing 2 half-day sessions on the building world-class business dashboards based on the big book of dashboards. I think it will, the times vary depending on if you are in Singapore, I think it starts at 8:30 in the morning. And if you are in New Zealand, it'll start at 1:30 in the afternoon. But these are nice, kind, friendly times for people in Asia Pacific. And they're not even that terrible for me. And there's a discount code TUG10, and it will save you 10%. So bigpick.me/APAC 2021. I can type that into chat a little bit later. And I hope some of you will be able to attend. It would be great to have you. It is a tool agnostic workshop. So we will not be seeing, well, how do I actually do that in my favorite tool? It's more, here's what you should be doing and why you should be doing it. And with that, I will open this up to Q&A. And is there someone who will be moderating that, or should I, click the Q&A panel and see what goodies are awaiting me there? And I can certainly stop sharing the screen at this point.
Thanks for that, Steve. That was really awesome. Some great things in there. And I thought one thing that we could do additional to the Q&A is maybe we could give away a book of the great book of dashboards, and something I jotted down, but just to show Steve how long you've been in the Tableau community, I noticed how many versions of Tableau you've got installed on your screen there. So I don't know if anyone else noticed that as well, but I did write it down. So
yeah, I probably shouldn't have all of them, pinned that are there. And I'm doing, look, so anyone, the amount of consulting I'm doing is much less, but oh, this client is only using this version. This client is only using this version. It's I in fact unpinned like two versions of it just 2 days ago when, I'm sorry if you're using, 10.4, I'm not helping you. Although you can now save as previous versions and things like that. So Tableau has gotten really pretty wonderful about being able to save as previous versions, which is something that for years you couldn't do.
Yeah, that's right.
So
if
keen
anyone
eye
did
there.
write down how many pinned versions, or take note of just how many pinned versions, or take a guess, I'll monitor it in the chat, and the first person that comes through, I think we have a big book of dashboards that we can send out. So if anyone wants to have a go,
keen eye for things, Sarah. Here I am trying to show morsels of usefulness, and it's like, how many different versions of Tableau has he got installed down there?
It's a data point. It's a data
I'm
point.
a fair. Hey, I'm impressed.
Oh, actually,
but he's only got 2 copies of Tableau Prep.
We've already got a correct answer.
Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah. Well, we've got 3 of them. Oh, we might have to give out 3 books.
And you know what? I don't have the beta of 2021.1. I've become a lightweight.
There we go. We do have a couple of questions. So the one that I've got in here is around share with us how to show filter on a dashboard when only a certain parameter value is selected. It was by an anonymous attendee.
So you mean show filters versus hide? If a parameter is selected, I want the filters to be showing. But if the dashboard is launched in a state, like you pass a parameter to it, and don't have the filter showing. So I'm thinking of a possible way to do this, but this is definitely has somebody in the community already figured this thing out? I'm going to give you my guess on how to do this in a minute. But also, I have a rule of thumb now. It used to be if I go 10 minutes and I'm not making headway in Tableau, I'm not seeing that stuff's working, I will do a search and see, has somebody figured this out? I have now become, older, crustier, and way more impatient. 5 minutes. I'm not seeing good progress here. I'm going, this community is amazing. Someone may have already figured this out. So the way I could think of doing it is the same way that you can have a parameter side to show a worksheet or not show a worksheet. Though that's so that there, you've got this amazing sheet swappers, which is, gee, I want to see this data as a crosstab. No, I want to see it as a scatter plot. No, I want to see this as a bar chart. And in fact, all of the charts are on the dashboard, but with the parameter setting saying, parameter equals true. Oh, but this is currently false. The filter is in there. The entire sheet collapses to nothing and you don't see it. So this is like a sheet. It's called the sheet swapping thing. It's been around for a long time. You could have 2 different versions of this thing, one with the filter, one with the worksheet that has filters showing, and the other with the worksheet without the filters, and that may display or not display it. I'm not sure. Other than that, I'd say, plus there may be one of you may know exactly how to do this. I'm sorry that I preempted somebody on here who may go, oh, I know the answer to that. Or there may be somebody in chat who knows the answer, but I'd probably say, has somebody solved this?
And I think from memory, one of the Flarage brothers had done quite a bit of work around show hide and things like that. So I think maybe on their site, they've got something already canned.
Yeah. So Mr. Anonymous attendee, maybe have a look in the forums, or maybe have a quick search there, and let's see if someone else in the community has sorted that one out. Thanks so much for that question. Just keeping it moving forward, and I'm conscious on time. We have another question there in the Q&A from Julia there. She's saying, hey, look, thank you so much for teaching us more about Tableau. She wanted to ask, as a business student who's looking to specialize in business analytics and as a beginner at Tableau, what are some practical steps that she can take to learn how to apply Tableau to real life problems? And then she had a little follow-up afterwards, just saying, hey, thanks for the time. I realize that my question might be a little vague. So she's just thinking that a lot of the data analytics that she's seen so far is used for analyzing mostly sales and profits. And she's hoping to understand if there's any way that data analytics can help perhaps in nonprofit organizations related to orphanages. So a bit more specific.
So one is the question of that. This is coming up all the time, and I feel less and less qualified to answer, which is, well, how do I get good at this quickly? And learn about it. And there are some social media projects around data visualization that are really valuable, and two in particular, one of which has been around for years, and that's Makeover Monday. And you've probably had people, Andy Kriebel or Eva Murray make the rounds with this, where here's this visualization that was published, that was out in the wild, and here's the data set for it, and how would you visualize this with the same data set? And now it tends to be a lot of these things that were public facing, less about real world business type of work. And so Mark Bradburn, now a Tableau employee, has come up with something called real world fake data, RWFD. This thing is great. It's about, hey, here's data that you are likely to see in a business context that happens all the time. How would you visualize this? And then you see a bunch of other people taking this on as well. Oh, wow, that technique was so cool. I wouldn't have thought of doing that. And I'm going to do that in my own work. So real world fake data, Mark Bradburn, great initiative. And of course, Makeover Monday. The collapse, someone was asking about, do I show the filter or not show the filter based on a parameter? The collapsible containers, this is something that I've been begging for 10 years, and it's finally in the product, maybe a year and a half ago, where you could have like a little icon or symbol, a hamburger icon. You click it, and then up pops up something which could be, all my filters, my widget, my parameters. I don't think that's what anonymous user was asking. But this, the filters and all the crap that's taking up so much of my screen, it doesn't have to take up my screen. I can click something pops up. Oh yeah, I just want to see that. And then it goes away. And those are collapsible containers. They're great and they're easy to do. So thanks for pointing that out, because maybe that is what the user desperately wanted.
And maybe something I would just add to Julie, I think the best way to kind of start off in your career is to do it and play for that data and look. I think the biggest challenge, struggling thing as a student, is you don't have that real world data. But I think if you can use some of these sources, get your hands dirty. And I just starting, fortunate for me, I had at my office, I got a lot of business data, so it gets relevant. But if you can find some data that you're passionate about, and if your heart is from there, some of the nonprofits, I think you can find ways, or even if you find your internships, get your hands on the data, play with it, and then explore different things. That's, I think, the best way to really kick off your career.
Just to add to that, if you were looking for some Singapore-related data, have a look at data.gov.sg. I'm posting that there. This is the Singapore's public data website, and it has all of the official government of Singapore released data.
Hey, I'm going to amplify something that Mr. Burns said, and this community is uncommonly generous and giving of its time. So when you start looking at people who's, following people on Twitter or LinkedIn or looking at Tableau public profiles, and there's someone whose work that you like, well, one, let them know that, because that kind of amplifies and that's the validation, and that just encourages them to do more good work. But if you ask them to look at something or give you feedback, I'll be very surprised if people say no. And it will only be because maybe they're ridiculously busy, but they'll then point out where you can get help. So this community is second to none in terms of nurturing and helping people. They won't let you fail.
And that's a nice segue into our final piece of the SGTUG. Gia, do you like to talk about this initiative?
Absolutely.
So my apologies. I'm just going to post one. I have to walk my dog at the moment. So my apologies for not being able to stay on to the end. Thank you for having me. This was delightful. I'm just posting a link, this is probably the only time I will be doing an AppHack friendly workshop this year. So if you think of anyone who might be interested in it, there's the link to it. If you know of anyone that would like to attend but cannot afford it, they've been furloughed, they've been laid off, whatever, I always set aside 3 or 4 either full or partial grants. So there's the link to that. Hope to see some of you on Twitter, LinkedIn, and hopefully in person at some point in the not too distant future. Thank you so much for having me today. It was a blast.
Thank you so much, Steve.
Thank you so much
Really
for getting up before 5 a.m. your time and really teaching us so many new tips and tricks. Thank you.
Yeah, when I'm awake, I'm even better. Thank you.
Awesome, guys. Well, if you wanted to just express your gratitude for Steve, maybe drop him a note. His website is datarevelations.com. He's on Twitter. He's on LinkedIn. Just let him know. Thanks, and we really appreciate it. So look, I'm conscious on time. So I think our last note here is an initiative that we're all really keen to
Yeah, I think you went on mute.
Yes, I am on mute. Sorry about that, guys. So I will quickly say what I just did say, which was that if you guys did want to say thank you to Steve, he's on Twitter, he's on LinkedIn, his website is datarevelations.com. Please just drop him a note, let him know that you appreciate his time. I'm sure he'll be happy to hear from the SGTUG with the APAC folks here. Just because we're a bit short on time, let's just finish off with our one of our final topics here, which is it's an initiative that I think we're all pretty excited to roll out. With everything that's been going on in the past year, we haven't really had a chance to see each other. We did a trial run of this last year, and it was really successful. Had a lot of attendees come and say hello, and we just want to be able to meet up with you face to face. We want to be helpful members and contributors to this community. So we thought, well, let's do something about it. Let's set up a SGTUG coffee hour. Let's meet up. We've put some dates together. And since we have our tugs go bi-monthly, we thought, well, during the months where we're not having a tug, we could set aside some time where we're able to go and get coffee with you. We're going to keep it to groups of 8, abiding by all of the phase 3 rules and regulations there. I have a QR code that's put up there that goes to a Google form. There should be 3 time slots for March where we can get together, get coffee. We're keeping it kind of in the central region for now, just because that seems to be the place where it's most convenient to the most people. We're just picking, an afternoon, 2 or 3 p.m. Thursday or Friday, where we can get together for coffee, network with each other, give you guys an opportunity to ask questions and connect with folks in the community. Please sign up if you're interested. Use that as a space to leverage us as resources for you guys to get you help, get you access to more folks in the community, get you answers to your questions, that kind of thing. We'd be very excited to meet with you. Yeah. So hope to see you again in April, and before then, let's catch up for coffee. Yeah. So thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.